If Candace Owens says it's the Democrats that are destroying black people, right? How did they do that?
You're making black people incapable by saying there is a system and telling them that they can't rise out of it.
Black people are able to acknowledge the oppression that has happened to us, but most often white people aren't. I think if Miss Owens all of a sudden started saying, wait, the Republicans and the Democrats are wrong, I think she'd see how fast they would kill her, how fast they would shut her down. Hi, welcome back to Gotta Be Me podcast. We're so happy and excited to be here again with you today. We're your hosts. My name is Sophia Benyon, and this is my cousin, Peyton Benyon.
Welcome back to our channel, everybody. If you are new here, please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you are old here,
take
a look around. Yo,
we are so excited about it. We saved up the pennies that we made from Gotta Be Me and put them in our piggy bank.
Other people's pennies.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you to everybody
deeply in debt for these couches.
Donated for the Gotta Be Me, and to all the people that loaned us and just everything. We're so thankful. As more podcasts get posted, you'll see like the set is bigger. There's like 2 couches and a chair, and it's white and black and pink. And
more pillows.
So excited about it. And the way it is, it's not in our bedroom anymore, so we can just leave the lights and the camera set up, show up, and just start talking. So we are so excited.
It's like a studio, right? You can show up and record. You don't have to tear down the house or anything. So
we love it. We're so excited about it. We're so grateful to Judith and Christine. You know, our producers, our people that they don't want me to call them producers, but I don't know. When I say Judith and Christine, I don't know what else to say to help you know who they are.
They run the cameras.
They run the cameras
right now.
And they make the set look good, and they edit and post. We're very thankful to them. Anyway, we are really excited. We have been... I think we've always wanted to talk about this topic that we're about to talk about, and that's why we always said we wouldn't. Because we really wanted to, but we were scared to. So we said, we will never talk about Miss Candace Owens because she intimidates us somewhat. We admire her intelligence and her quick wit and her boldness and the fact that she has her own extremely successful show. And we're like, we don't want her coming for us because she just has a way of making her opponents look unintelligent, and I wouldn't consider us her opponents.
No, not
you know
at
what I'm
all.
saying? But I don't know. I just don't want her coming for us. But we've been thinking about her and talking about her, and amongst ourselves, we're like, we're not gonna do it on the set. But we got brave, especially after Brother Steph encouraged us. He was like, you should talk about Miss Candace. I think she would like you. I think she would want to talk to you all. We were like, you do? And we would love to talk to her, you know. So
I think it would be a mutual liking both ways.
Tag Miss Candace Owens in the comments. We would love to talk to her, but. We're so interested in some of her perspectives and theories and theologies and doctrines.
Yeah, she's a very opinionated, passionate woman.
And just outspoken. She just says what
I
she
really
thinks
admire
at all
that
times.
about her. Because sometimes I get scared to say strong opinions because then if I have to go back later, it's going to be like really embarrassing. Like,
but
to my friends and family, I am like so passionate. I say the most out of
Yes, you do.
Out of the
yes,
box.
she does. I be having to check Peyton for real.
Yeah, I just, if I get mad, it's just everything's coming out that I meant and didn't mean. But I mean, Miss Candace Owens is not like that at all. She's very reasonable.
But she does make very strong statements.
Very big,
But
broad
what I do
statements.
appreciate about her is that it seems that when she does realize truth, she's willing to say.
She always moves along. Yeah.
That wasn't true.
I remember she was talking to Larry Elder, and she said, basically, I've grown up with people watching my convictions form. And that's just like kind of a tough space to be in, right? Like people watching you find yourself right in front of the cameras.
Right. And we kind of feel that a little bit because,
a little bit.
I mean, here we are doing the same thing with a much smaller audience. But you brought up Larry Elder. When me and Peyton watched that, we were so very traumatized.
Yeah, absolutely.
We actually were shouting at each other. Like, what are they saying?
Like, some of the reactions I went through initially, so I was listening to it, and then I was frustrated, right, because it knocked off some of the foundational things or strong things that I would believe, and I'd be like, what are they saying? But then I realized, like, I mean, they're speaking facts.
They were speaking facts. They had data. They had statistics and analysis, and if you research this, it says that. They had so much of that.
And it's, like, very scary looking, like, all on the surface, right?
But it made us realize, like, actually how manipulated facts can be and misrepresented. Because just because you have some truth doesn't mean you have the truth.
Absolutely.
And facts, as true as they can be, still doesn't mean you understand the narrative.
It does not bring
or
you
the
to
story
the
of what's going on. But the thing about Miss Owens is, I think she understands a whole lot more than she might give off in some of those conversations, like she did in the one with Larry Elder, which that's been like, what, 5 years ago. So I don't know. I would give her credit that maybe some of her opinions have changed. I wouldn't know.
Absolutely. Something that really stuck out to me in the whole conversation speech is that she does not believe in systemic racism.
Me too.
And that was just really odd to me in the context of some of the things she said in the past and some of the things she said recently. So we have her like sticking up for a couple years ago, I think 2021, she stuck up for Nicki Minaj because Nicki Minaj spoke negatively about Big Pharma.
Oh, okay. She said something negative about the vaccine.
Something negative about the vaccine, and Cardi said,
Candace, Miss Owens.
Anything with a C. Candace, she said, "You go, girl. I mean, you speak your truth." And she kind of said Nicki Minaj was very brave for standing up against liberal media, and that's kind of how she would portray it. But I mean, Nicki Minaj, right? She's speaking about a system that would take advantage, right? Pharmaceutics,
right,
is a very big system.
Pharma is a system,
right?
It's a and okay, so there was that. But then even just in her conversation with Larry Elder, they talked about the education system,
right?
And they talked about the entertainment system. You could call it industry or system.
Right.
And they talked about family systems. And they talked about government systems.
I mean, and they honestly talked about systemic lack of fathers in the Black community.
Or they talked about a lack of fathers in the Black community, but somehow they somehow came to the conclusion that it wasn't systemic, which I don't understand how you can deny a system and look at that fact that there's a lack of Black fathers in the community.
And
like to me, either there's a system causing that, because it's obviously not one person and it's not individual choice.
Like, everyone recognizes there is a problem with fatherhood in the Black community.
Both Larry Elder, and that's not who we're here talking about, and Miss Owens were like, oh yes, we have a problem with father absenteeism in the Black community.
Yes.
They acknowledge that. But to me, if you don't acknowledge the system, then you have to say that Black men must be inherently absent as fathers.
Yes, they must be inherently absent. How can you regulate that? And I think they're kind of defending themselves by saying, like, there's not a system. You're making Black people incapable by saying there is a system and telling them that they can't rise out of it. But either way, it's a system, because what system is telling Black people they can't get out of it?
Right.
Because either way, we're not getting out of it.
Right.
And Mr. Elder said, well, just someone needs to stand up and tell them,
those men to
go back home,
stay in the home.
And that's just so.
It just sounds very ineffective.
And you have to have a voice that people are listening to.
Right.
I think that's something your mom mentioned as well. You have to have a message that your people are gathering to. Otherwise, there's something wrong with your philosophy.
I believe Miss Owens has a voice that people would hear.
Oh yeah.
I just don't know. I'm not sure what she's using it for at this point. Like how she's benefiting her community with her voice. Although I'm sure she feels like she is.
And I think certain things she's saying and certain ideologies she would hold would be excellent for the Black community. She talks a lot about taking personal responsibility.
And not having that victim mentality,
not having a victim mentality. I think that's an excellent understanding to have. But we've talked about this before, right? I mean, we don't want to have a victim mentality. We're actually not going to have a victim mentality. And we're going to be proactive about the state that we're in. But we're not going to deny the fact that there has been victims and victimhood in the past, or even at this very moment. We're not going to take that away. Both things can coexist. And it's just interesting because she's like this insanely intellectual
but
woman.
You know what? Even in super extremely intelligent people, if they don't have the right language to express themselves, they'll say things they don't mean, I think. To me, that's what I see.
I know, I've done it before.
Right. Like for her, like, okay, at one point she mentions in the conversation with Larry Elder that there's reverse racism in this country of basically of Black people treating white people poorly.
Yeah, she talks about how white people can't do so much stuff now because people are very triggered by white people.
Right.
And they can't say anything now.
Right. Know? But racism, as we know, is an intentional misnomer, as there's only one human race. So racism, race is not a thing.
It's a social construct.
Racism is a system that puts the idea that there are different races, and in this system is the system that that oppressed Black people and elevated white people to also oppress white people, but in a different way, by elevating them above their Black brothers. And you can't say there's reverse racism because there's no system that's elevating. There's no system that's elevating Black people, you know.
I think she would think that there is. I think she would think that Black people are being elevated above white people at this time, because Black people can say things that white people can't.
I think you're right, but it's not a system.
No.
I mean, there is a. I shouldn't say I think there is. I think there's speech in the media. You know, everybody's talking about this. Everybody's talking about the race issue. And I think there's people in the media trying to reconcile it, and nobody really knows how. Absolutely. But they're doing it, and some white people are feeling guilty, you know, in ways that they shouldn't. You know, nobody should feel guilty. Everyone should acknowledge the effects of white supremacy, and from there we can work on it. But to just sit around and feel guilty and to talk about how bad white people are and how good Black people are, like, to me, that's pointless.
That's pointless. It's very divisional.
But there's no system that's dragging white people from their land, destroying their men, taking them, separating the men, and what happened in slavery times, and the effects that we're still seeing in America today. Believe it or not,
I mean, there is an attack on white people.
There's no system like that.
But it ain't like that. The system doesn't reverse itself. It just doesn't flow the other way. Our country was built a certain way, and it really hasn't changed. And I think we can see that in the way that Black people have never really risen as a community. Now, there has been those token Black people, right, that we hold up, right, and we hold on to them.
And there was a time when Black leaders were rising, but at the time that they were, you know, getting ready to truly come together and stand together, they were killed. So the African American community has never really even had someone to stand up and say, this is what it means to be Black. This is what it means to be an African American.
So that was some of what we kind of got off on a tangent about Larry Elder and them, just because it was a really interesting.
We were so affected by it.
The way they framed it, yeah.
But like the whole reason that Miss Owens kind of came back into our, like, okay, we need to say something, was recently when Miss Janet Jackson stood up, and she didn't even say anything that offensive. I don't like. She said, big. I heard that Miss Harris is not even Black, and that's what Miss Janet Jackson said. And apparently everyone jumped up to shut her down, and they wanted to cancel her, and this, that, and the other.
Janet Jackson.
And Miss Owens said, you are not going to cancel Miss Janet Jackson. The effect that family has had on this country, and blah, blah, blah. And they tried to do that to Michael Jackson.
They killed Michael. They're trying to kill Janet. We're not letting that happen to them
again. To you, sister. Like, she was, like, standing up for her. And to me, that was just so incongruous with her idea that there's no systemic racism. Why do you think if you think they killed Michael, why did they do it? Why are they coming for Janet Jackson? Furthermore, why are Michael and Janet Jackson some of the people that are understanding they don't really care about us, that are seeing the system? You know, like,
and that are calling it out for what it is.
It is the system that doesn't allow, that in general hides itself. So like for the most part, and this also is the thing that makes Candace Owens different, because she'll talk about, you know, how good her life is, and it is, but it wasn't always. But for the most part, Black people are able to acknowledge the oppression that have happened to us, but most often white people aren't. The system hides itself because white people don't even have to acknowledge how they've been affected. And so it's often the Black people like Michael Jackson that are saying
that can bring
it's all about the money
for everyone, right?
Right. And so Brother Steph was like, did you all hear about that? And we were like, no, we didn't. So we went back and watched her talking about it. But like, that just makes no sense. She says there's no system.
There's a system that is oppressing people and not allowing people to speak, right? It's causing people to not, and that would mean there is a system in place that is not permitting truth to come. That's not permitting people to say how they feel, but just then to like I mean, she believes the education system is ruining people. She believes the democratic system is ruining people. But then to go on the other side and say the Republican Party is like gonna save us. It's just like,
that just assume it's not involved in the system.
How are you so passionate about the Democratic Party being systematic and oppressing Black people and not like seeing the other side of it at all?
Like at one point she says, like she's talking in their conversation, she says, "What happened to BET? There used to be such good television programs."
And it's so accurate, right?
And it's like, yeah, what did happen to it? What happened to it?
Yeah.
Like it didn't disappear because one person disappeared it. It was a system in place ruled by people with power that could make that go away, that could make the only, Black entertainment now, people that are pushing negative images of Black females and Black males or immodesty or drugs or whatever images, instead of like
the TikTok trend, guns, drugs. You know what my parents say about them.
Yeah, literally. I'm just saying, like, what did happen to it? A system. A system.
Right, because, like, I mean, like, I can see it in the community at large, but, like, there is not, I mean, Black people are suffering, and there's a lot going on, statistics say, but, like, if we wanted to, we could promote something else. We really, really could. Like, there is upstanding citizens. There are people that are doing well.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
we just don't.
Systemic.
Our talent and our beauty and our ability and who we are as a people constantly flows out of our community without anything flowing back in. Like we haven't had a strong Black leader that lived long enough to be able to show us how to function as a community. And for Miss Owens to just talk about all the problems in the Black community which exist, and then to say that why is there even a Black community? Why are there problems in the Black community without a system?
Like, where did it come from? Why would there be? I literally don't understand. Like, why would there be a problem? Right? That we always talk about the children on Black Wall Street weren't killing each other because I've heard her speak very passionately before about the most people killing Black people was Black people themselves, right? So that would just reflect that would just reflect a problem.
To me, that shows again, like, okay, so maybe there is a lot of Black on Black crime. Why?
And like the answer literally cannot be as simple as because
Black people are killers or something crazy
or
like
Black
that?
people are Democrats. Like it can't be as simple as that because there's Black people that are Republicans that got problems too, and it's all involved in we're a community, and you can't. I don't think you can separate yourself. Like you can't be a Black Republican and say I'm not from the Black Democrats. They have a problem,
right?
And they need to kind of get themselves out of it.
And even if Miss Owens thinks that having a more Republican mind frame would help them to pick themselves up by their bootstraps or whatever the expression is, how do you even get to that mind frame from the mind frame that they're in? Why are they starting in that mind frame? What and who is causing them to think that the Democratic the Democratic Party is better? Why are they gravitating towards it? So you think Black people have a victim mentality? Why? Who gave it to them? Who told them to? Like, it's a system.
Yeah.
It's a system.
And that's something that's just kind of mind-blowing. So, like, it's just, like you said, completely incongruous.
And that's what we would love to talk to Miss Owens about if we ever got the chance.
Yeah. I would completely love and adore to talk to her about it.
Miss Candace Owens, if you ever see this, we would be so honored to have a conversation with you about it. We would love it. We would love it so much. We feel like we would agree actually on so many points, and you could help us understand your point of view better. And
we would probably learn. We would learn so much
from you, and we would like to share our point of view.
And I would love for her to explain this confusion that we're having. It's not necessarily a confusion in myself, but a confusion about what's going on.
And what she's actually trying to say.
Yeah, because I think that if we all got together and defined our terms, there would be so much less division. And I think that's the only thing that could be really wrong about a situation like this. People completely dividing and polarizing from each other, because the more we polarize and the more we refuse to talk to each other, the less problems get solved, the less we reach a resolution, the less help the Black community is in any way, shape, or form.
The less help we are to each other and the less helped we are.
Absolutely.
If Candace Owens says it's the Democrats that are destroying Black people, right? Or that are giving them a bad mentality, how did they do that? Who gave them the control
And I think the proof is really in the pudding. We voted Democratic. We voted Republican. Not we don't vote. But our country has voted Democratic. We've voted Republican before.
And we're still seeing these issues.
It ain't. I mean, sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down, and it's gonna swing. It's a pendulum, and that's kind of how it works. That's how cycles go. And I think we should just obviously be able to tell at this point that the answer cannot be simply
politics. A politician.
And I think really the only way,
a political party, a political ideology.
To really fully and holistically explain something like this is to understand prophecy and history and how that's all intertwined, and what the Bible says is the resolution for everything. I think that is the only way to understand systemic racism and the way it works.
Because trying to prove a system or disprove a system using facts and facts and data, it never works.
Right, because people always try to say, prove systemic racism. Give me one fact, right? And it's way bigger.
It's way bigger than that. It houses those facts. That one fact actually proves nothing. You have to understand the whole story.
Facts could prove anything, but you have to have a narrative that tells you where those facts go, and like a whole story. Who is that character, and what do they mean to that character, and how does it all connect? But Stephen often in his book Hustle Backward, he says it's like people were riding in a car and they're like,
prove to me that a car exists.
And we're like, well, we'll see this seat. And they're like, well, there's seats everywhere. There's seats everywhere.
See this belt buckle? I've seen many belt buckles.
Right, and they're just ready to, with any sort of fact. And I just think.
And Brother Steph says, if someone was asking me to prove the existence of a car to them, I wouldn't show them the steering wheel and the controls. He said, I would just drive. He said, and when I got to a nice fast speed, I'd ask them to jump out. And I think if Miss Owens all of a sudden started saying, if she tried to jump out, if she started saying, wait, the Republicans and the Democrats are wrong. There's a Republic and a Democratic plantation. These two parties are actually working together to destroy Black people. I think she'd see how fast jumping out would kill her. I'm not saying kill her as in her spirit or her. I'm just saying how fast they would kill her, how fast they would shut her down.
To be gone.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all we have. I hope that came across respectfully. We truly have great respect for Miss Owens, and truth be known, are somewhat intimidated of her. But we felt to speak about this because, at the end of the day, we feel like we have the truth on it. You know. Absolutely. And I don't know. I don't know what a conversation between us and her would look like, but hopefully one day we get the chance to find out. Y'all know what time it is. Peace, love, and hair grease.